Today, I'm so excited to announce our Aligned Student of the Month is LEAH AFTAB. Leah is from Ireland, she's 28 years old, and she has had a really great, consistent flexibility practice since April 2020. And since then, she has really acquired some unbelievable results. She is a consistent student who is doing many aligned classes per week and is really feeling the benefit physically and mentally. We chose Leah to be the Student of the Month for her really passionate dedication to her practice. Also, she is so supportive in the Facebook group and she's really determined and hardworking and has also developed a really amazing mindset since training her flexibility. So today we're going to get to know her a bit more. We're going to find out more about her training and she's going to give us all some really useful tips. So here she is, LEAH AFTAB. So hi Leah, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I'm good, thank you.
And I'm very well, yeah. A little bit sleep deprived, but I'm okay. So Leah, you have been crowned the Student of the Month, the Aligned Student of the Month. How does it feel?
Oh, I'm so grateful. It was such a surprise and a shock, and yeah, I'm really, really happy about it. I've loved Outline since you've launched it. I started doing flexibility with you, I think back in April or May of
Uh-huh.
last year. And I've had such like amazing progress since then, not only like in my flexibility, but how I approach flexibility and how I feel during and
That's
after. So
great.
thank you.
And well, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that you're getting so many benefits from Align. So what was your training like before, like your flexibility training? What was it like before you started Align? Were you doing it regularly or?
I was trying, yeah. I don't think I was as focused, so I might have been doing 3 sessions a week, whereas now I think I've upped that to 5 or 6. And it doesn't feel like it's so extra because let's say if I log onto a line and I say, look, I've got 25 minutes free,
Yeah,
what class will I do? There's so many to choose from. I don't feel maybe that time pressure element that I might have felt before when I was approaching flexibility and training
right. Okay.
because I could choose, okay, I want to focus on my quads. Oh, there's a class there for 25 minutes. Perfect.
Okay, so there's always like a class for you to enjoy
Exactly.
depending on your mood or what you want to focus on.
100%.
That's
Yeah.
good.
So Lion has really helped me.
And where's your before that? Were you training on your own, like in your house or at the studio?
Yeah, I think so. I would have taught a class myself every Saturday in person in
Yeah,
the studio, and that was super fun because it was lovely being around the guys.
being around other people. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I would have stretched mainly when I went to the gym. So it's strange because I never would have stretched at home, and now I've completely changed it. Like I have a little section here. I've gotten some pictures, and so I moved the couch out of the way. I popped on the yoga mat, get my blocks, put on a class, and I'm ready to go. And I kind of feel like this is my stretching space now. So I love it.
That's good. Well, I think it's actually quite important to allocate like a space for stretching
I
and make
agree.
it like nice and make it familiar and like comfortable because it's more likely that you're going to get it done if it's, you're used to stretching in a specific area, I would say.
I think so too. And that was one of the things I was thinking for like if I was to give advice to somebody who's starting stretching, because I think having a particular spot that you're going to do it, it brings that focus and you associate that particular place with being focused or
Yeah.
doing that flexibility training or whatever it might be. And I think it's so good to make that space your own. So whatever makes you feel comfortable, if that's like a candle or a picture.
Or
Um,
music.
exactly. Or
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. Do you train with music or oh, I
I
guess you're doing
actually
the
don't.
align classes, so
Yeah.
you have to kind of hear what I'm saying.
Right. No, I wouldn't normally train with music. I think if I did, I'd probably end up singing along. But maybe I'll stay in a position a bit longer, so that might be something
Yeah.
to start doing. 'Cause I think when something else is on and you're able to kind of, I don't know, sing away and move, you might be able to hold like that pose that makes you feel that bit uncomfortable, like maybe a lizard pose or a log position, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those are really good tips because yeah, it is hard to for some people to kind of get that discipline at home. And I think like all the stuff
Hmm.
that's happened over the past year, I think like it's let some people become really comfortable to stretch at home and train at home, and they've really excelled in their
Yeah.
practice. But then other people have really struggled with it, and they kind of regressed a bit. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's really good to give people tips like that. Definitely a little home space is a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So excellent. And yeah, so you like the lengths of the classes, they fit well into your life because you're quite busy, aren't you?
Yeah, like I would find like with work, I can run over a little bit, but usually not by too much. But then there's just the day-to-day things, like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to do the shopping. Oh, the house is a bit sick. I need to clean it, and things like this just pop up. So I think what I found that's helped me as well is like I make a plan for my training at the start of the week, and I say, okay, like my focus is maybe 3 upper back sessions, and I want to do my middle splits once or whatever it might be. And I find like, okay, being flexible with the plan is important too, because I think, things happen in the day. You might have anticipated on doing like a 40-minute back bend session and suddenly you only have 20 minutes. So rather than punishing myself, I find that like being flexible with the plan has really helped me.
Yeah.
If I got to 20 minutes, I could still do a class on the line. Maybe it's not going to be like as I planned, like 40-minute back bend session, but I can still work on opening my chest, and that would really
Yeah.
benefit my back bend.
Yeah, because you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself to stick to like, a specific time or a length of class. Like it is really good to kind of be like, okay, if I'm not in the mood to do something today, if I'm not in the mood to do a long class today, or if I'm feeling tired or whatever it is, like I'll just do something because something's better than nothing, isn't it?
100%. I think that's another really good point with flexibility is that, let's say your hip flexors are hindering you or holding you back, and you could maybe do like some of the really horrible wall stretches, and you could do those 3 times a week because maybe you just don't have the time or whatever that week to dedicate to a longer flexibility splits class. That would really benefit you. Like those 10-minute sessions of doing those hip flexor stretches, they will benefit you in the long run. So I think with flexibility, it's like it's such it's such a thing, like small steps will bring you so far with it. It's not always about like exactly. And I found like at first when I started getting the splits, I was like, oh no, I want to get higher splits. I want to get more of an over split. And then I realized I needed to kind of park that agenda and just keep working at like hip flexor stretches, building strength in my hamstrings, because they're the things that will really bring you to a strong split and keep you doing your flexibility practice for years, hopefully.
That's really cool. Like your mindset seems like it's in the the right place, because I used to be like that as well. I was like, I have to do this, I have to do that, and I have to stretch for more than an hour and a half. And I had all these things. I put too much pressure on myself, and I think now I'm the same as you. Like if I don't have the time, obviously I have more of a responsibility now. I have a kid and I have a business and things. So like I don't always have that time. So something is better than nothing, like I said. And yeah, I'm the same. Like sometimes I'll just work on one specific area, like strengthening my glutes or whatever it is. Like yeah.
Yeah. And would you make a plan like every week? Like, would you say, oh, I'm going to do 2 needle sessions? Or what would your training,
Well,
what would your training
actually, at the moment, no. But it's something that I think I used to do that. I used to be quite
Mhm.
organized with my pole training and my contortion practice. But there's so much going on right now that I think like
Yeah.
I'm kind of a little bit what's the word, like a little bit lost with my schedule. I'm just kind of fitting it in
Okay.
whenever I can, and also because
Mhm.
I'm filming the classes as well. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
physically doing all of the exercises, so that's kind of like my training as well. So
Exactly.
usually what I do now is I'll teach a class and Pyro will film it, and then I'll do my own practice after that while I'm already
Mhm.
warm. So I'll probably do
Mhm.
like I'll go deeper and I'll do more back bends or splits or whatever, or I'll jump on the pole and do some pole stuff. So I'm kind of like, I'm finding little bits of time to do my own training in. amongst it all, amongst the madness.
And that happens exactly when you get that bit busier. It's sometimes harder to fit it in, but by the sounds of it, like we're really similar like that. We're trying to fit it in regardless, like even if it is only like
Yeah.
20 minutes after. But you're doing us such a favor because you're giving us all these brilliant classes. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I really enjoy it. I love it. um, so, what part of your body, Leah, would you say is quite naturally flexible? Like, which part is more effortless than the others?
Yeah, I think for me it's my hips in terms of getting into a middle split.
Okay.
Um, it was one of the parts of my body I worked on early on into stretching, and
Yeah.
it's one of the parts that I can relax into the most. I mean, I don't still love holding a middle split for ages. I still find that difficult.
Right.
Um, but like I love the frog position, and I know I've spoken to other people who really
Absolutely hate.
hate it. Yeah, and I could spend ages there. So I think my hips are probably
Okay.
the most naturally flexible.
It's. I think frog is like love or hate.
Yeah, I didn't realize because I'd always loved it. But when I spoke to other people, they were like, "Oh no, sometimes I would like fast forward a class." I'm like, "But why? It's such a good position."
I love frog. Actually, I could stay in it for a long time as well. I find it really relaxing. And what about the areas where you really need to work at, like that you feel or could be a little bit weak or a bit stiffer than other parts?
Yeah, for sure, upper back and shoulders. I mean, this wouldn't be naturally flexible for me, and I work a desk job at the moment, so I'm in like the T-Rex arms kind of position for a lot of the day. So obviously my shoulders can be pulled forward, so I do try and stay conscious of it now. But it's definitely the part that I've had to work at the most. So when I'm making that plan at the start of the week, and if that's one of my goals, be it for like flexibility or for pole tricks, I know I need to dedicate a bit more time into strengthening my shoulder joint and then working on stretching it. So it's something that it's tough for me, but actually I found over the past year with your classes, I've actually enjoyed stretching it the most and I enjoy strengthening it the most, which has been a huge change because something like puppy pose and like holding it for a while, I would have been like, oh no, this is so sore. And now I love to do it. It's like
Wow.
I prioritize my stretching and say, oh, we're definitely doing that on a Monday. That's going to make my week start really well. Whereas before, I'd be like, oh, Friday, put it at the end of the week.
Wow, that's really cool. So your kind of worst stretch has become one of your favorites.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. But yeah, that's what's happened.
Because that's what I always say to people, don't avoid stretches because they feel uncomfortable, because one day they will feel actually quite nice and relaxing. But you've got to get past all of that kind of resistance. So that's a fine example of that. Just keep working at those parts that don't feel so great, because that's the
Yeah.
areas that you really need to work on.
And even like remembering to breathe in those parts. Because I
Yeah.
think when I first approached maybe something like puppy pose, I might have been holding my breath without realizing. And of course, that would contribute to me not feeling comfortable, not being able to relax and rest into it. So like, the breath is such an important tool. In things like lizard pose or log pose, when your classes first started and I was doing log pose, I used to be like, oh my God, how is she staying there for ages? And I couldn't get comfortable. And now, yeah, one of my favorite stretches, I can really feel the benefits as I come out of it slowly. But it's interesting that, like, at the start, you can really hate a stretch, and it can end up being a favorite one once you learn to breathe into it and really connect with the stretch and where you should be feeling it.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool actually. I like that feeling. Log pose was another one. Like I'm quite similar to you actually in that way. Log pose was so uncomfortable for me at one point. I just felt like I couldn't bear it. But now I
Mhm.
could sit there. Like I still feel a really deep stretch, but I could sit
Yeah.
there for a long time because
Mhm.
I kind of enjoy the working through the resistance and connecting with my body,
Yeah.
and like using the breath as a tool.
Mhm.
So yeah, breath super important. That's definitely true.
Mhm.
um, so what else was I going to ask you? What would you say is your biggest stretching distraction? Like,
Mm. Yeah. I think the phone. If the phone is close, and it's connected to the Wi-Fi or on loud or something like this, and I hear a ping, your automatic reaction is like, "Oh my God, this is urgent. I need to reach out and grab it." So that was tough at the start, and even I think my mind was another distraction that I was thinking so much. My mind was so full, so I wasn't being mindful. I was just thinking about something I needed to do after the stretching class or what I needed to do before, but I forgot about. So it was like I wasn't actually on the mat at all. So in terms of that, like the breath for in terms of the mindful part has really helped me. And in terms of the phone, what I tend to do now is I'll put actually the phone in a different room. I'll turn off the
That's a good
Wi-Fi
idea.
and I'll keep it on loud so that if, something's happening and somebody needs me, they'll call me. I know they will. And I mean, anything else can usually wait. And I'd say, literally, 9 times out of 10, when I've come back to the phone after my practice and I've put back on the Wi Fi, nobody has contacted me. Nothing is, so I think those things at the start really distracted me. And at the start as well, maybe other people in the room would have distracted me. But I've just learned to become more focused on my training and saying again, look, it's 30 minutes or whatever it is. I can focus for that. And I feel so much better when I'm more present with my practice.
That's great. Yeah. Well, it's definitely a lot better to stretch when you're more present.
Mhm.
Like, I've seen people like stretching and they got their phone in one hand and they're on Instagram and they're in a lunge, and it's like it's fine. I've done that as well,
Mhm.
but you're not really connecting with your body. You're not really feeling like the sensations because you're
Mhm.
occupied with something else. And I know
Yeah.
what you mean about like even having your phone in the room, even if you're not touching the phone,
It's
like
there.
it's there and your mind is kind of attached to it, and you're thinking about what's
Mhm.
happening in the phone and if someone's trying to contact you or whatever. So like definitely that's another great one, is to just like put the phone somewhere in another
Mhm.
room on silent and just forget about it.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, like a half an hour if you're going to dedicate that to your practice. If you're dedicating an hour and you're taking a quick water break, I mean, you could check the phone. But what I found in the past, what happened actually is that if I did that, and I wasn't reminding myself, you need to get back on your mat, Leah. I was getting cold. And then I flew back to my mat and I was now cold. And I was like, oh, well, this would be my more deeper part of my training, which I've now lost because I've gone over to the phone. So I think when you reflect on what's holding you back, you kind of realize, well, is it important? Do I need to rush to the phone right now? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's an emergency, but I mean, I don't think
Of
that
course.
that's really going to happen. And I'm sure like whatever it is, you can sort it out after your training.
Exactly. I'm like, oh my God, somebody's asking me for a song recommendation. I'm like, they can
Yeah, and
wait.
it's
I can
broken your
wait.
focus. Like when you take your phone out, it breaks it. It's like
Mhm.
you know,
It's so powerful. So you need to take the power back to yourself and say, okay, I am a person, I'm a human being. This is an object. I'm going to pop it over
yeah,
there. And you'll come back to it then when possible.
definitely. I really agree and relate to that a lot. So, I guess like training since like your training's been consistent since you started training with me, or was it was quite consistent before? You were still doing 3 days a week, weren't you?
Yeah, I was still doing 3 days a week, but I think it was maybe a little bit more stressful because I was thinking I wasn't, as I said, stretching really at home. So I was going somewhere like the gym to stretch, and then maybe I had a home class or something like this. So I think although my stretching was consistent, it wasn't as relaxed. I didn't flow into it as easy. Whereas now, as I said, I move the couch, I pop down the yoga mat, and I'm ready, and this is my spot. So I think the last year has really helped me find what works for me as well in terms of.
And with like a consistent, dedicated practice, what kind of benefits have you received, like mentally and physically? Because
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
seen
so
some of
many.
your amazing pictures, and like I think one of the most recent ones was the needle scale. You've gone from the
Mm,
band to the foot now. Is that right? Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think even visibly in that particular picture, I've been noticing that say my upper back and my shoulders were starting to open out a lot more in my chest, but I didn't realize my hip flexor because my hip flexor, my leg went from being so far away from
Yeah.
being here. And definitely the hip flexor. My hip flexors have improved
That's
so
great.
much in the past year. My upper back and my shoulders, and as I said, I enjoy stretching that part of the body. So that's mentally, that's a huge change, is to actually enjoy stretching something that you really didn't like at first. Mentally, oh wow, so many as well. I love the feeling of being present during and after the class because I think you can really carry that forward to your day. So if you do maybe, a half an hour class, and you finish it and you just feel so relaxed and so good in your body and your mind has slowed down as well. And you can carry that to your next tasks or whatever you're doing for the rest of the day. And it's such a lovely
So you think
feeling.
that's great. So you think it's kind of like translating into your in your life?
Yeah, I think it allows me to be less reactive and more responsive as a result of being more in tune with my body as well. So, like, let's say you're in, I don't know, a quad stretch against the wall, you're tugging the hips, and it's just horrible. But if you can relax yourself and then you've gotten through that quad stretch for 20 seconds, you've come out of it, you can definitely do that in your daily life. If something stressful's happening and you say, okay, well, I did that horrible quad
You
stretch
can do
and I got through that, I
anything.
can get through this,
that's a that's amazing. That's a
Exactly.
really
So
great way
powerful.
to look at something actually. So hopefully for everyone that's watching, next time they're in that stretch, the quad stretch against the wall, they can just like remember that it's going to do them good and they're going to be able to be less reactive in
Exactly.
normal stressful circumstances. So that's awesome. And you're pole dancer as well. You're pole teacher. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. I love all elements of it. It's such a beautiful
Yeah.
thing that I found in my life. And I found since doing the classes, like again, going into, I don't know, an inside leg hang, like a Scorpio. And if I like glance at the mirror, I'm like, oh, I could actually reach for my foot when I never could before. It's not something I maybe would have even dreamt of. And it was just that bit more accessible to me. Recently I was doing the leg wrap, and I've never done the leg on the pole. It was something I just didn't like it. It didn't feel good to my body, and I probably wasn't prepared for the trick as well. That's probably why it didn't feel good. And I did one recently, and I was like, "Oh wow, that was really lovely. Like I don't feel horrible. I don't feel like I need to get rid of a rib or anything." So this align and the training has really
Wow.
helped me translate
So
it onto the pole as
difficult
well.
tricks are becoming more reachable since you've been training and training your flexibility. That's awesome.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
And what's your dream pole trick? Is there one that you really hope for one day that you haven't reached yet?
Yeah, I would love to get a spatchcock on the pole.
That's really weird. I knew you were gonna say that. I just read your mind.
Really?
That's the image. I just saw an image of you doing a spatchcock.
Okay, hopefully now will happen is break the pole off. Yeah, so like it's something, a trick that I've been wanting to do for so long, and I have been kind of helped into it before, but I would love to be able to do it myself and feel strong in it as well, not feel like, okay, I'm in it, how do I get out of it unassisted? So that's definitely a dream trick of mine.
And do you think that what do you think has held you back from reaching that trick in the past? Like, do you think there's some area that you need to work on to get strength or flexibility?
I feel like I can hook my top heel on the pole pretty easily. And when I start to bring the other one, I don't know, am I trying to go too wide and not going for that kind of V position? But it's something I think in that that's holding me back. And also, as I start to pull forward, I'm like, oh God, I don't feel comfortable. Am I going to fall off the pole? The kind of two things in that I need to work on. And I think it's the confidence to work on that trick, to not leave it for, oh, well, I haven't done this in 3 months. Let's do it now. Be more consistent with it. If it's even doing it maybe once a week or every fortnight in training,
Yeah.
that would be
Well,
a really good
actually,
start. So
I
I
was
need to
working at
start
that
doing
at
that.
some point a few years ago, and I was doing maybe what you were doing, where you were kind of trying to do a box split. Probably all the frogs. You're trying to go really wide, just naturally
Yeah.
you want to widen, but it's actually more of like a forward bend than it is a full box split. So yeah, I would suggest maybe try to bring your bottom leg down
Mhm.
not too wide, try to close the gap slightly and see if that helps. But it
Yeah.
is quite an
Okay.
uncomfortable trick, especially when you're starting it. And I think it is that courage to just like do it. But I'm sure you have the flexibility for it now. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I will all be watching your Instagram
I'll take
waiting
your
for
advice.
it.
Thank you so much.
How
That's
many
not
years have you
pending. Work
been
in
pole
progress.
dancing, by the way? Ground in
9 years
anything
now.
or? Okay, okay. And when you start, did you have a background in
9 years
anything
now.
or?
No, nothing. Like when I was a kid, I had done ballet for six
Okay,
years, but I mean, like 3 years old to 9 years old, so quite young. So no, I hadn't, and I had never had that sense of community with exercise or that passion for exercise, to be perfectly honest with you. I used to kind of approach exercise kind of as something I had to do rather than something I wanted to do. So the mentality was like, okay, well, I had a pizza last night. I need to go to the gym and do this. And I wasn't enjoying it, you know?
yeah, it's
And
enjoyable.
whole and the community that it brought
That's
has
lovely.
like completely
That's
changed my life.
amazing. You found
So
something you're really passionate about, which is great.
exactly.
Um, so, couple more questions. What
Mhm.
is your favorite class on a line?
Tough question.
Ultimate favorite class. You can
Okay.
only choose one.
Oh God. I know one that I visit a lot, so I'm gonna go with this one. I think it is day 3 of the needle scale challenge, but you've also put it up separately. It's an unlocking the upper back and shoulders. You're in the, like a desert kind of background.
The sand dunes.
Yes, and that is probably my ultimate favorite class. I describe it as gooey.
Yeah,
Because you feel so good during it and after it. I just feel like everything comes together, like everything aligns in the class, and then I get up after and I'm like, I feel taller, I feel more energized.
that's
So
great.
probably one of my top favorite classes, but I know I've visited it a lot, so I'm gonna choose that one.
Okay, and do you save your favorites? Like, do you have your favorites? Have
Yeah,
you? Yeah. Okay, and are you kind of sticking to the same ones, or do you venture out and choose all
it's
different ones?
funny that you mentioned that actually because this week I changed it up a bit. So I was like, okay, I want to do a split class. What will I go to? So I was like, okay, well, I look in the Smith challenge, for example, and I was like, day 4. Okay, don't know what it is. Let's do it. And I enjoyed it so much. Again, because I had done the challenge when it first launched. I think was that October, maybe. I can't
Or was
remember
it?
fully.
That was a while
Um,
ago. I don't.
was
I
it?
don't
Yeah,
even
October.
remember when it was, but yeah, it was in Scotland. So must actually,
Exactly.
yeah, it must have been a while ago.
Yeah, so I love revisiting those kind of classes where it's been a while and you don't know what to expect because sometimes if you know what's happening in a class, you can kind of zone out. And as I said, I like to be present in my practice now, and I love the feeling that it gives me after as well. So like that, like coming back to like the day 4 and going, okay, let's see what this is and let's just go with it. And you feel so good from it. It's like a surprise again. So I like to do like
Nice, excellent. And you've done. So you did the front splits challenge. Have you done any of the other challenges?
I've done all of them.
All of them. The box
Yeah.
splits, the needle,
And
and
currently doing
the
the
upper back. Which one have
exactly.
you enjoyed the most so far?
Oh, again, tough question. Um, oh, I think I really enjoyed the front splits challenge. I think it was something that I needed to focus on, and the reason I'm going to pick it is because I really focus on both sides. You know, so I think again, if we're talking about advice for beginners, work on both your sides because I hadn't done that at the start of my stretching journey years ago. And then I had a huge imbalance between my left leg and my right leg. And now actually my weaker leg is now my stronger leg, funnily enough, after doing the challenge. So yeah, so I really enjoyed that class because I needed that focus to work on both my sides. But all the challenges I loved. And that I'm doing right now I love.
That's great. Yeah, well, actually, filming that challenge really helped my splits a lot. Because
And
filming them, it keeps me in line too. And
of
yeah,
course.
I my both of my split sides became a lot more symmetrical. So yeah,
Hmm.
definitely that's a great tip for beginners. Don't neglect your bad side.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
definitely.
Have you got
Yeah.
any other advice before we part ways? Any other tips for someone who might be starting their flexibility journey? Because you've already given us so many of your wonderful tips and wisdom. So, do you have anything else, or?
Progress pictures. That's one I just remembered. Because I remember starting out, you might be a bit more shy or a bit more, oh, that looks not good. Like that's not a split. But take that picture because eventually you'll see in a few weeks, you're like, oh, well, like my back hip flexor is now lower. And you wouldn't have realized that if you were just waiting to get touchdown, for example, in your split. Or like also going by how you feel. So, like, if the frog, for example, was something you dreaded going into and you were holding your breath, and now you've noticed, wow, it's been 30 seconds and I'm relaxing. So, noticing all these little things in your practice, but definitely the pictures element, I think, because it's like anything in life. You get to the end of your goal, like, let's say you reach spatchcock, for example, and you kind of forget about all the little things you did to get there. And those bits are so important because they equal the final product that you get. And to feel good in every part of it. It's not always easy. You might feel a bit discouraged sometimes, but keep at it. Really keep consistent with your practice, set your time, put away distractions, make a plan, learn to breathe, and take your pictures. And find a community as well. So like having, excuse me, Felicity's Facebook group is really helpful because you can put up, look, guys, I'm feeling a bit discouraged this week, or the weather's really cold. How am I going to warm up? And finding you might find somebody in there who's going to be like, you know what, I'm feeling similar. Why don't we, do a class, the same class, and let each other know how we find it. So finding a community that are having a buddy with you to stretch with, even if it's virtually at the moment, I think that's really helpful.
That's a great idea, actually. I like that one. Yeah, excellent. You've given us so many exciting tips, and it's been so great to have you here. You're very inspirational, and all of your mind and body work is just amazing. So, well done for all your hard work.
Oh, thank you so
And
much.
yeah, it's lovely to see your amazing progress.
Thank you so
Can't
much,
wait to see
Andy.
even more.
Thank you for being such an inspiration to all of us for Align.
Oh, thank
I just
you.
admire you so much, and thank you so much for creating the platform and giving us all these brilliant videos, tutorials, everything you've given us. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna cry. Thank you so much, Leah. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and well done on being the student of the month.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
See you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.